Alright, hello guys, how's it going? In today's video we're going to be talking about how winter could give us one last Arctic blast here before summer finally arrives. Now before I get started with this video though, I would ask that you do subscribe if you do like weather related content, and also make sure to share this video with your friends, family, and social media. Now for today's comment of the day, I want to know, how do you think June is going to go for your area? Let me know your area, and also if you think it'll be warmer or colder for the month of June, and I'll be picking one of those for tomorrow's video. Alright, now let's get into this video, and you might be wondering, what in the world, direct weather, an Arctic blast, what are you thinking? But stick with me guys, let me just show you what I'm talking about. So northern Canada, in the Arctic Circle there, you can see there's a lot of blue. Alright, that's our air mass. And this was actually May 27th, so this was 3 days ago. I needed to go back just to show you guys the progression of this. Now, as we move towards the 29th, you can see that blue air mass that was in the Arctic Circle dips down, more into southern Canada, even touching the Midwest of the United States. And then by the time we're at tomorrow, by Sunday, May 31st, you can see this Arctic blast will have made its way in a matter of about 4 days from the Arctic Circle all the way into the northeastern United States, the Mid-Atlantic, the Ohio Valley, and the Great Lakes. Those purples and pinks indicating areas with very far below normal temperatures, and I am very concerned that we will see a lot of areas get some frost, which is going to be very damaging, obviously, for crops and things like that. So I'm going to show you guys the actual temperatures on 2 of the coldest nights, but outside of that, we're just going to go day by day with the temperature anomalies. So we're about to move on and take a look at all of that. So we're going to start things out here, and this is going to be by May 28th, so we're just taking it a couple days before today, just to give us a more accurate outlook of how things have progressed, like I said before. And we were actually dealing with some very hot temperatures for New England, the Great Lakes. I'm sure you guys were just loving that after the springtime that we've had. Very cold for you guys. And now let's take it to May 29th, and you can see that warm-up actually is starting to move out by about yesterday. New England, it was very warm, as well as pretty much all of the East Coast, but we did see a bit of a cool down begin for the Midwest all the way down through the South Central United States. You can see it kind of takes a dagger there through the Central United States with some lighter blues, nothing intense yet. And then by the time we're at today, you can see that has progressed a bit eastward. It is a very slow mover, but we're starting to see some of those purples touch North Dakota, Minnesota, and some of the deeper blues are actually starting to implement their way throughout all of this cool down here. And the East Coast is still just trying to hold on to that warm up, but it is not going to last. We are going to see it push eastward all the way to the coast eventually. So that's today. We're about to move on. We're going to move towards later today, and then we're also going to take a look at May 31st. We're going to take it all the way through the first couple of days of June and show you guys when this cool down could be done with. Alright, so here we are at about this afternoon actually, and you can see by this afternoon it's actually moved quite a bit eastward, and it's become more intense than it was as of this morning. We're seeing more purples in some areas like the Dakotas, Nebraska, Iowa, and through Missouri as well, and then some of the Great Lakes states as well. And that warm up on the East Coast is really coming to an end by this point. I also want to point out, I did make a video about this maybe about a week ago where I said the beginning of June could be cold, like actually cold, not just like a cool down, but cold. And a lot of people were wondering like what I meant by this. This is a follow-up for that video, just showing you guys that it's still going to happen. This is the final thoughts on that, just in case you were wondering. We're going to move towards May 31st, which is going to be tomorrow from the time I'm making this video, at about 2 a.m. So this is going to be Sunday at 2 a.m. tonight. We can see the Midwest, the Great Lakes, a lot of the interior northeastern United States, even the deep south and some of the south central United States dealing with some of those darker blues. And then the Great Lakes is dealing with the purples. And anywhere in the dark blues, you're kind of at 4 to 8 degrees below average Celsius, which is pretty far, but those purples is 8 to maybe 12 degrees. So that's a bit colder. So let's go ahead and take a look at the actual temperatures. What would that mean as far as conditions? And sure enough, this isn't one of the colder dates, but we do see that the Great Lakes, the Midwest, and the interior northeastern United States is dealing with lower 40s, upper 30s, which is very cold considering it's going to be one day away from being the 1st of June. Very unseasonably cold and actually quite rare, but this is going to be especially there in northern Michigan and the upper peninsula of Michigan as well, where it's showing mid 30s. That's where we're taking a look at the risk for some damage to plants and things like that, where we could see some major implications like that. So you might want to be on the lookout for that. Just pay very close attention to what your actual forecasted temperature is, because it's going to be a very close call some of these upcoming nights. All right, now we're about to move on, and we're going to move towards later in the day on May 31st, and we're going to move towards June 1st, which is going to be the coldest day out of all of these, believe it or not. Looking at some very major cold for the first day of June, some of the coldest June days I've ever seen. We're going to talk about that, and then, again, we're going to move it all the way until this cool down completely comes to an end, just to give you guys kind of an ending date of when I'm thinking this will be all said and done. All right, so here we are. We're taking a look at about 2 p.m. on May 31st, because we're going to move into the night of Sunday into Monday. That's when we're going to see very cold air. We can see more deeper blues and purples that made their way all the way to the East Coast now, so we're really seeing this one kind of at its peak by this point. We can see that there is a cool down. This is kind of a more educational point to take a look at, but we can see that there was a warm-up. It was warm on the West Coast when the cool down was first coming in, but by this point you can see that we do actually have a cool down there for the West Coast. This means we're already seeing a negative PNA again, which is going to encourage warm air to return for the eastern United States very quickly. If that was to stay very warm, I would think this cool down would actually last a long time, but the fact that it's showing that big cool down there along the West Coast tells me this is going to be very short-lived, and it's going to move out, because that is a signal that we will have very warm temperatures in the eastern United States at some point coming up very, very soon. All right, so let's go ahead and move it to about 2 a.m. on June 1st, and look at those purples for some of those areas: Kentucky, Tennessee, Indiana, even a little bit of Illinois, Ohio, especially West Virginia and Pennsylvania there looks the coldest actually. Even Western Virginia. We see all of New York and then all of New England as well, all seeing those purples, which again is about 8 to 12 degrees below average Celsius. Let's go ahead and take a look at those actual temperatures for June 1st, and we can see mid to upper 30s for a lot of those lighter turquoise colors. So throughout West Virginia, Pennsylvania, New York, and all of New England, it appears it is possible that a lot of these areas will be teetering on the line with frost, which is obviously going to be a major implication for a lot of plants that people have obviously already planted, because by June 1st, you're usually definitely safe. Not the case this time around, it doesn't appear. If anything, we're going to have widespread 40s pretty much throughout all of these green colors. So very, very cold temperatures compared to normal for the 1st of June. That's basically the first couple of hours of June are going to start out very cold. So we're about to move on to where things are going to really warm up actually. This is pretty much the end of the cool down, and we're about to see things turn around big time and become actually hot in a lot of the areas that we're dealing with a lot of the cold. All right, so here's my time. We're at the afternoon hours of June 1st, and you can see we're still dealing with a little bit of the cool down, but the big point to note here is, well, there's less purples. Only Michigan and Wisconsin and Texas there. Outside of that, pretty much all of the purple colors have dissipated, meaning the cool down is becoming less potent by this point. Let's go ahead and take it to about 8 p.m. on Tuesday, June 2nd, and you can see really a warm-up has moved in by this point. The Midwest, the Great Lakes, looking very warm compared to normal. Also, the Gulf Coast and the East Coast is still trying to hold on to that little bit of a cool down. They're usually the last one to transition either to a warmer pattern or a colder pattern once something moves in. The inland areas transition much faster because they don't have the ocean temperatures to contend with. That's why that happens, by the way, if any of you are wondering. Let's move towards 8 p.m. the next day. 24 hours later, the East Coast has jumped on board. Actually, that's very hot temperatures for the East Coast by this point. Along the mid-Atlantic coast, so for Virginia, Maryland, Delaware, New Jersey, even eastern Pennsylvania there, I'm seeing some deeper reds and maybe lighter pinks. That's areas that are 6 to maybe 12 degrees above average. So we're really going to see things turn around. Actually, it's going to go from far below normal to far above normal. It's going to be a big transition, and actually, for the most part, with the exception of the first couple of days of June, I think that the first 14 or 15 days of June are actually going to be above normal for the eastern United States. Obviously, I have my June forecast coming out on June 1st. Be on the lookout for that in 2 days. I'll talk a lot more about that topic. So let's go ahead and look at the 6 to 10 day outlook here from NOAA. and this is going to be for June 4th through June 8th. And you can see for the Midwest, they have very far above normal temperatures, actually, the most above normal. For New England and the Northeast, they're kind of torn. They think it's going to be about normal. And then for the Northwest, we have below normal temperatures. Again, that's a sign of a negative PNA, which encourages warmer than normal conditions in the central and eastern United States. So we need to be on the lookout for that to eventually happen. Let's look at that 8 to 14 day outlook quickly. And you can see for the 6th through the 12th of June, kind of the same story with maybe the warm-up heading a little bit further east by this point. Again, still a cool down there for the Northwest. All right, now for today's comment of the day, I asked you guys how many tropical storms more than we've already had do you think we're going to have by June 10th? How many more tropical storms? And Jaden Holmes said anywhere between 1 and 3 storms, basically. And I completely agree. I think we're going to probably get at least 1, but it could be anywhere as high as 3. There's a lot of potential invests that we're taking a look at. I wanted to take a break from talking about the tropics because I've done it like 5 days in a row, and that's why I made this video, because I think it's the most impending big weather event coming up, but I will start talking about the tropics very, very soon again. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Again, be sure to share it with your friends, family, and social media. I will see you guys in the next video.